Howdy doody, fellow Mamarinos. Brenda Butchanan here, your book club president, your PTA secretary, your number one mom. Just one quick teeny-weeny itty-bitty announcement before we get into the episode. As you know, I am a very busy gal in very high demand, what with all the duties that accompany being a mom about the burb. And as you also know, my son is not a very busy fella. At least not in the ways I'd prefer him to be busy. But, while he's not the best at prioritizing pre-calc over Pikachus, he does know a heck of a lot about the interwebs with the Instagrams and the tweeters and the podcast biz as a whole. And while I do know it's important to support women in creative fields, it's also important for me to give my sweet boy, who I love and support in all that he does, something to do with his time that doesn't involve stuffing woodland creatures into his balls. I mean, come on, how on gosh's green earth did that ever get approved as a children's game? So, from this point forward, all of the official Momcast accounts will be run by social media director Jeremy Butchanan. He'll be in charge of getting engaging, quality content posted to @Momcast Podcast, as well as uploading episodes in a timely manner for your streaming pleasure. And I completely trust him to have this new episode uploaded according to schedule. So, without further ado, an extra special, extra festive holiday installment of Momcast. Enjoy! Spooky tidings and a haunted hello, mummies! I hope you're ready for a spooktacular Halloween installment of everyone's favorite, most frightening podcast, because it's time for a Momcast murder mystery! Oh heavens, not a real murder, of course. We're talking about the murder of the Landing Library! Spooky, spooky, spooky. If you'll recall, last week there was an incident. Wait, no, that doesn't sound festive enough. Let me try again. It was a dark and stormy night when a terrible tragedy befell the humble subdevelopment of Quarry Creek. A horrible, monstrous beast had slain the beautiful Landing Library that Beverly, bless her pea-pickin' heart, had worked so hard to install on behalf of the PTA. The monster left nothing but a well-worn baseball bat and the body of the victim. Luckily, this neighborhood had a grade A detective/monster slayer to protect it. That's me, Brenda Butchanan. And since she was smart as a whip and cute to boot, Agent Double B7 had all the clues she needed. She knew that, okay, this third-person jargon is really a nuisance. Basically, I know that Joni's sons are the nearest Little Leaguers, and that their grandpa whittled their baseball bats himself a few years back, and that their dad took them on a trip to visit said grandpappy last weekend, which would have been an awfully convenient time to get a new bat made. Conclusion, one of Joni's sons destroyed the Lending Library. I just have to figure out which one. It's not gonna be easy. The boys, Matt and Max, are identical twins. You can only tell them apart because one of them has glasses and freckles and the other has a faux hawk and a large birthmark covering half his face, and one of them wears a friendship bracelet that says, "My very best friend in the world is my twin brother Max," while the other one says, "You can't find a better pal than Matt, who is my twin brother, and not me, I am Max." Other than that, they are completely identical. Lucky for me, I hit a prime sleuthing opportunity. Yesterday was their 10th birthday party. A little sneaking during presents, a little scouring during cake, and I'd have one of those kids behind bars. In timeout. Spooky timeout. But I suppose I should take a timeout to bring us back to the book club recap, shouldn't I? Book club is the only thing that brings us together here in the first place. And staying on theme, this week's book was a mystery. Woo! That wording was a bit misleading. We didn't read a mystery, it's just that the book we read was a mystery. Not that the book itself was a mystery, the book itself was a mystery. We didn't know what book we were supposed to read. All of us show up to book club with novelty wine glasses, assorted snack platters from the Jerry's Foods they just put in down the street, and reflections and analyses on entirely different novels. Helen claims we had chosen the girl with the dragon tattoo, but Heather swears up and down it had been the girl who played with fire. And Joni had the gall to come in with her copy of the girl who kicked the hornet's nest, while I know for a fact that my group email had said murder on the Orient Express. Because, hello, it's spooky time, and murder is spooky, and I would never miss an opportunity to be festive. And then everyone gets all snippy because I spent $15.26 on this paperback copy of Stieg Larsson's debut novel at Barnes & Noble. And I spent 9 hours of my free time reading and annotating Stieg Larsson's sophomore book. And I spent the last shred of my sanity trying to clean up my house enough to have you all over to discuss the late work of Stieg Larsson. And are you sure it's pronounced Stieg Larsson? Because I've been saying Stieg Larsson. And that's because of our regional dialect. It's Swedish, so you're supposed to say it like it's Swedish. And I'm 20% Swiss, and I've been saying it like Stieg Larsson. And then we Googled how to pronounce Stieg Larsson, and we found this video of this robot woman saying it over and over again. Stieg Larsson, Stieg Larsson, Stieg Larsson, Stieg Larsson, Stieg Larsson, Stieg Larsson, Stieg... And that is how we found out the correct pronunciation of Stieg Larsson. A problem nobody would have had with Agatha Christie, but I am all for learning new things. I especially love learning new things when they bring me one step closer to finding the little delinquent that destroyed the lending library. So, the second I walk into the twins' birthday party, I go full Sherlock. My first sleuthing step is to confirm that one of the boys did, in fact, get a new baseball bat. So, I wait until Joni's distracted, pouring herself a fifth cocktail, and her husband is distracted, being a good father. I sneak into their garage, pretending I'm running out to grab another can of coconut LaCroix, because I am out of coconut LaCroix, and then I get distracted wondering if that's really how you pronounce LaCroix, so I Google it, but it's less helpful because this one's got a real person and he's got two pronunciations, LaCroix or LaCroix, LaCroix or LaCroix, and the longer he goes on, the more agitated he sounds, LaCroix or LaCroix, LaCroix or LaCroix, LaCroix or LaCroix, 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 and then I say, focus, Brenda, blood has been spilled, not sparkling water beverages. Also, Joni's garage, disgusting, disgraceful. I don't know if the half-full floor-to-ceiling cardboard boxes are a symptom of the divorce or a side effect of them never settling into their life together in the first place, but it's like a labyrinth of lost love and vague Sharpie labels in there. Max Baby, full of worn-out shoes and onesies. Matt Baby with brand-new children's books and gaudy picture frames. Harvey College stuffed with jerseys and novelty shot glasses. Joni College completely overflowing with discarded paperwork and worn-out textbooks. That one looked like a raccoon had either lived in it or fought to the death over an old essay on war and peace. Xmas decor and Hanukkah decor and spring clothes and summer clothes and instruments of the revolution and autumn and fall, which seems redundant, but I will concede that autumn and fall are two completely different aesthetics, so at least that one aspect of their existence is organized. After about 6 minutes of rummaging, and I know it was 6 minutes because that's how long it takes for a can of coconut LaCroix or LaCroix to lose enough fizz to go down the hatch without giving me an upset stomach, I finally find them. 2 baseball bats, propped up against a water-stained wall amidst the cardboard cacophony. The one on the left, blue, well-worn, a couple of faded Ninja Turtle stickers along the handhold, speckled with slight indentations from years' worth of well-intentioned foul balls. The one on the right, green, smooth. A mini Michelangelo still glares from the grip, but he's free from the wear and tear of sweaty summer palms. And there's a nick of blood on the knob with the ghost of a sanded-down splinter, as though someone had, hand-carved the bat in a hurry, then gave it to a young boy to do a test run, not noticing the slight imperfection until it was too late, proceeding to quickly fix the error and send the boy home as though he had never been without the bat in the first place. One bat is old. One bat is new. One bat is lost. Lost but not forgotten, as evidence of its misdeeds lingers just across the cul-de-sac. One bat is innocent. And one boy is oh so guilty. But which one? Which one? Which one? Which one? Such a simple question. But if you're not certain about the answer, it can lead to some drastic results. That's right, it's another forced transition back into the book club recap. None of us could come to a consensus on which book we were to read. So, lacking a good solution to the Larson v. Larson v. Larson v. Christie case, we compromised, each discussing our own takes on our respective novels. So, out of respect to all involved parties and responsibility to my position, I will now read each of the ladies' statements from my notes. Helen Baker on The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I swear I made 3 runs to Target while reading this to buy Kleenex alone. To be fair, I only went through one of those boxes on this book. You know my child Rosencrantz, the one and only child I have ever had and ever will have? Well, in music class this week, Rosie's teacher taught them how to do that thing where you make a little guitar out of a few rubber bands and a tissue box, and now Z just can't stop cranking them out, seeing what new sounds Z can make with different sizes and shapes of boxes and bands, and I don't have the heart to tell them to slow down. All in the name of science, am I right? So if any of you ladies need an unboxed stack of Puffs Plus lotion, just stop on by. Anywho, this story was a real tearjerker. This little girl goes to her elementary school's Halloween party, right? And there's a little face painting table set up, and the kids are just loving it, getting themselves all dolled up to look like Spider-Man and butterflies and ambiguous abstract blobs of color, either by request or by the limited artistic capabilities of parent volunteers. And then it's the little girl's turn, but her vision's so bad she can't stand to go a second without her glasses, and she has these freckles she's really in love with, so she asks the mom at the table to paint a dragon on her arm instead. And she does, and it comes out looking more like an iguana, but the little girl loves it all the same. And the kids have a blast at the party, testing out their new personas as Spider-Man and butterflies and geometric abstractions and little girls with tattoos of large reptiles, and then they all go home and wash up for bed. Problem is, the little girl loves her tattoo so much she won't let anyone scrub it off. So on her arm it stays, growing smudged and faded as the weekend progresses, and it comes out looking more like a fire engine, but the little girl loves it all the same. And she's so excited to go back to school on Monday to play with her friends like they did at the party, to revel in their new identities another day. But she gets to class and she realizes that all her classmates had scrubbed their faces clean. The girl had thought they were all remaking themselves while the other kids were content to just make believe. The little girl never did wash her arm, but she never wore short sleeves again either. There was a great use of synecdoche on page 14 that set up a really important running motif for the rest of the novel, but of course I won't spoil anything. Oh, and the theme? Change, obviously. I guess she at least gets some points for being festive. This is Heather Bloom on The Girl Who Played with Fire. Well, obviously, girls, I took issue with this novella right off the bat. One does not simply play with fire. I learned that on my Pyroga retreat. That's yoga infused with basic pyrotechnics, in case you didn't read the flyers I pass around at every one of our meetings since my first retreat. See, fire is a living, breathing organism, just the same as you and me. Its aura, however, is far denser and far more dazzling. When your chakras are perfectly aligned and your third eye precisely attuned to the astral plane, you see this pulsating, shimmering mass of blue-gold light. It's such a strong presence that it manifests in our plane as well, but to the untrained eye, it just appears as yucky gray smoke. Really, ladies, you must come over to mine sometime for mid-evening meditation. The sight is absolutely indescribable through the spoken language our puny existence is so dependent on. And it's such an enchanting sight every time I so much as light a candle I have to shoo my kids into the other room. They exist purely in the astral plane, you'll remember, and thus their auras are so concentrated that if their essences were to overlap with one as brilliant as simple candlelight, it'd overload the delicate fabric of our dimension and quite possibly tear apart the very concept of existence as we know it. Since, as you can see, fire is such a fierce and fickle substance, one cannot simply play with it. One must first earn its trust, something only days upon weeks of steady meditation and kindling can accomplish. By the end of my first Pyroga retreat, I had only just begun to get the hang of it, getting no more than the equivalent of a pedestrian conversation about the weather out of the flame. Now, of course, as a trained instructor in the Pyroga program, I have performed much more intricate interactions with my flames, although I wouldn't so much refer to the soirees as playing as, well, something quite a bit less juvenile than mere play. The book itself, I didn't actually read it so much as I absorbed it. I thought it more appropriate to set the pages alight and converse with the resulting flames about its views on the ideas expressed in the novel. It said it could have done without the romantic subplot between the seamstress and the nephew's schoolmaster, as it distracted from the primary narrative of preening the family's goose to ward off the curse of the wormswood thistle. But overall, it had a lovely use of assonance throughout, giving the piece a warm and flowing feel. The fire also said I have lovely eyes. Oh, and the theme? Protection, obviously. So, nothing new there. And finally, Joni Hellman on The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. It was stupid. The whole book was just so dumb. You don't just kick a hornet's nest on accident, you know? The only people who kick hornet's nests are idiots who don't know that hornet's nests are full of hornets and who go around kicking things that may or may not be full of hornets for shoots and giggles. She didn't say shoots. And this woman is like, look at all these women around me, all these strong, powerful women I've known all my life, smart women who know that hornets' nests are full of hornets and who have better things to do with their time than going around kicking crap for funsies. She didn't say crap. And then these other girls would find hornets' nests, but the woman would think, oh, sure, they found one, but they're not gonna kick it. They're not gonna kick it. They're above that. They're strong and smart and capable, and they're just gonna call the exterminator and dispose of the thing safely and move on with their non-hornet's nest kicking lives. And then what do all these ladies do? Kick the darn hornet's nests. She didn't say darn. Kick the darn things, again, not darn, straight into the air so that they can come crashing down on their pretty little hornet-loving heads. But the main chick is like, well, maybe my friends are idiots, but I'm never gonna kick a hornet's nest because hornets suck and kicking things suck, and I'm gonna lead a nice, fulfilling life with no kicking and no hornets and no being an idiot. And you know what she frickin' does? She frickin' kicks the hornet's nest. For no frickin' reason. There's no frickin' misunderstanding, no frickin' misjudgment. She just looks at the frickin' thing, thinks, that's a hornet's nest, and frickin' kicks it. And you know what frickin' happens? Frickin' hornets. And obviously none of those frickings were actually frickings. Fricking dumpster fire of a book. Oh, shut up, Heather. Go kick a hornet's nest. No, I do not want to know the benefits of the resonant frequencies of a wasp's buzzing and meditational chanting. Do you listen to the words that you say? Oh, and the theme? Regret, obviously. Riveting take from a fan favorite. You can see why everyone loves her so very, very much. Why so very, very many people showed up at her little house of horrors for her son's birthday party. Oh yes, every neighborhood ghost and ghoul showed up to do her monster mash. I'm not even sure where she got all these friends. I mean, I certainly recognized a few of them. That bratty Justin guy, for one, you know, the one who quit PTA because we didn't let him design some witty bake sale posters. Then there were these other folks who had come to the PTA a time or two, and folks who had come to the PTA a time or two, and you know what? That was the common denominator. Everyone there had come to the PTA a time or two and then dropped out, never to be heard from again. Guess Joni likes making friends who can't follow through on anything. Birds of a feather and all that. But all of these people seem to be entertaining each other just fine, which means nobody is paying attention to the birthday boys playing with their friends in the other room, which means the coast is clear for me to conduct my investigation. Now, 10-year-old boys have a short attention span, which means I only have time for a quick interrogation. One question, that's all I've got. Get in, get answers, get out. So I venture into the belly of the beast, the boys' playroom, stoop down to meet their eyes, still my trembling palms control my terrified voice, and I ask them, What is your favorite color? Blue, one shouts. Green, shouts the other. And I jump up. Sure, I have my answer. So shocked it could come so easily. But then one says, "Whoa, yours is green? I didn't even think of that one." And the other says, "No way. I only said green because I thought you were going to say green and I wanted to match." And then they just keep going back and forth. "I like green because that's what color your eyes are and you're my bestest brother." "Well, I like blue because that's what color your eyes are and you're my bestest buddy." "Well, if we're bestest brother buddies, then we should have the same favorite color." "What about bluish green or greenish blue? Jeremy's mom, what's a color between bluish green and greenish blue? What about teal or turquoise? I'll go get my crayons and we can look at all the color names. And then we can draw a picture of us being the bestest brother buddies. See ya, Jeremy's mom. Thanks for increasing our brotherly bonds." And by the time they're done, I completely lost track of which one said what when and who liked what color and which brother was which and who I was and what I was doing and how on earth I was going to solve this case. And then I realize that those brotherly bonds could be their undoing. So I go over to the boys, already busy sorting out their Crayolas, first by color and then by how cool the name sounds, and I say, "How would you boys like to open some presents early?" "Oh, yes, yes, yes! You're the best, Jeremy's mom!" "Not so fast," I say. "I have a deal for you. I have one gift for each of you. One is a really cool Fortnite something or other. I don't have a clue what it is, but Jeremy says you boys would like it." And then they both whoop and start doing this funky little dance, lots of knee thrusting and arm flipping. They looked like they were very well practiced. "The other," I continue, "is a Pringles can full of ants." And they stop dancing and they look at me real confused. "That doesn't sound like a very good present, Jeremy's mom." "It's not a very good present," I say, "but one of you hasn't been a very good boy." "That can't be right, Jeremy's mom. My brother is the best boy, and my brother is an even bester boy." "Well, one of you did something very bad." "I bet I did the bad thing, so you should give me the ants." "No, don't give him the ants. I did the bad thing," jumping to take the blame to keep each other out of trouble, just like I knew they would. That's why I was one step ahead of them. "No, boys. I'm going to give this gift, this Pringles can full of ants, in case we need a refresher. I'm going to give it to whichever one of you can tell me truthfully who murdered the lending library." And I see this fear flash across the boys' faces as they look to each other, surely reluctant to get the other in trouble, but so very driven to keep the other from harm. And I had a moment where I thought, maybe this is too far. Maybe this is going to tear them apart, this rift I'm creating by forcing them to choose who gets to protect whom. But then I see this image of the boy, the criminal who destroyed my lending library, finally getting the punishment he deserves, and I'm filled with glee as I see answers bubbling up on their tongues. And then I hear a deafening crash. But the crash isn't coming from the party. The crash is from the book club meeting. We have so little to talk about, we could only talk so long about our respective novels without giving away the ending, so we need another source of chit-chat, and I think the ladies might be interested in updates on the lending library investigation, seeing as community and literacy are the top two priorities of a book club. And just as I get to the bit about interrogating the twins, I hear that crash, and I look up, and Joni's smashed her wine glass, the one that never leaves her hand, on the hardwood. And she's absolutely seething with something inhuman, as though she's transformed before our eyes into a monstrous thing brimming with an insatiable rage, fangs out, claws out, foaming at the mouth, steaming out the ears, towering over us, glaring, fires igniting in her black pupils, and she hisses, she growls, she makes every noise on a Spooky Sounds dollar bin CD, and she says, "I don't give a shit what you do with your quirky little PTA nonsense, but you leave my kids the fuck out of it." And I'm quite taken aback. I mean, I even forgot to censor her in my meeting notes, but I managed to choke out, "Joni, one of your children endangered the neighborhood, and it's my responsibility to make sure that they are punished to the full extent of the I did it, Brenda. I destroyed your lending library. I took Max's baseball bat, or maybe it was Matt's, I don't know, they share everything, and I went out in the night and I smashed the lending library to pieces. Now leave my sons alone." And now I'm just so at a loss. And I turn to the other ladies, looking for them to back me up, to reprimand her, to console me, to help me lift the heavy, heavy hammer of justice. But the looks on their faces... You knew? You both knew this whole time? "She did what she had to," says Helen. "It is as the universe intended," says Heather, and I can't believe all of a sudden this group of ladies, this sisterhood, no, this motherhood that I was supposed to be leading, all of them had turned their backs on me. All of them had done this horrible, horrible thing, destroyed something I had worked for, something I believed in my neighborhood, our neighborhood. I run. I don't know what else to do. I run. I run right back to my house, right up to my little recording space, the only place I can be alone and not feel like I am, because at this moment I certainly feel alone. I shut the door, lock the door, double-check to make sure I locked the door correctly, realized I hadn't locked the door, relock the door, sit down, and call the only person left I can trust. Beverly. Bless her pea-pickin' heart. She picks up the phone before it even rings. And I say, "Oh, Beverly, bless your pea-pickin' heart, I'm so sorry to wake you up," or maybe I didn't wake you up, I don't know if you were asleep or not, it's not like I watch you sleep or anything. What a weird thing to say. Of course I don't watch you sleep. I just mean to say I have no way of knowing when you are and are not asleep, and God, I'm sorry. I know that we're not close. I mean, we are close in terms of the PTA bureaucracy. I just mean maybe we're not close enough for me to be calling you at this hour. I just didn't know where else to go. See, my friends, well, come to think of it, I don't know if we've ever really been friends, really, more just like cohorts under the book club I run. I've told you about my book club, haven't I? Not that you need to remember if you had. It's not that important. Certainly it's not as important as the good work that you do. Anywho, we just had a meeting tonight and it completely fell apart, and I don't know if it's because I'm just not as good of a leader as you. I mean, I try to live up to the standards you set each week in our PTA meetings, but nobody can be perfect. That's just human. Well, maybe you can be perfect. Not to say you're not human or anything. It's just that I've never seen you not be perfect, but maybe you're not perfect all the time. I mean, I'm not watching you every second of every day. What a weird thing to say. Of course I'm not watching you every second of every day. I just mean I don't know everything about you. I mean, I'd like to know everything about you. I mean, not everything about you. That's not to say I'm not interested in everything about you, because I'm sure everything about you is very interesting. I just mean I respect your privacy is all. Although maybe I'm not respecting your privacy right now, calling you at this hour in this state, and gosh, I never realize how late our book club meetings go. You just get so caught up in the chit-chat of it all, you don't notice the passage of time when you're talking about a great new book, except that I didn't even get to talk about my great new book this week, probably also because of my less than adequate leadership abilities. We were supposed to read Murder on the Orient Express, see, and I had this great discussion on how, well, I shouldn't assume you've read Murder on the Orient Express. Not to say I assume you don't read or that you don't have great taste in books, because I'm sure you do read and have great taste. Not to assume that you'd like Murder on the Orient Express, because maybe you have such good taste that you'd pick up on a lot of things that aren't very good about the book, and maybe I shouldn't assume the taste of your taste. And I mean, maybe you're right. I mean, you would be right theoretically if you had good taste, but also didn't really like Murder on the Orient Express. I mean, maybe it's not a very good story at all, because it's about this woman who's really passionate about her family and her hobbies and her community, and she's a really great mother and a really great leader, but then this other woman comes to town, and she thinks this gal is just the bee's knees, starts idolizing her, wants so badly to impress her and be just like her, and then she starts neglecting her family and her hobbies and her community, and she does whatever this woman tells her to, and she doesn't even realize that this woman completely has her under her spell, and her friends all know something fishy is happening, and they try to get the gal to come to her senses, realize this woman and everything she does are bad news bears, but she doesn't listen to them. In fact, the more they do to try to protect her, the less she trusts all of them. They all drive her away, see, when all they're trying to do is keep her safe, and then this new woman swoops in when the gal is feeling vulnerable and hurt, and she asks her to be her right-hand woman in her organization, and of course she says yes because she so looks up to this woman, thinks she hangs the stars in the sky and all that, and she does everything this woman asks without question, devoting her everything to this cause and neglecting everything else she had worked for throughout her life, and it's not until it's too late that she realizes that the organization has been doing very bad things, and she's been working for this woman for so long, she's completely missed out on her family growing up and her community changing, and it's too late for her to fix what she's done and go back to living her life, and she wastes away knowing that she can never make up for these horrible mistakes she's made just because she believed in this woman when she should have believed in herself because everyone else believed in her. I mean, who needs that story? It's a dumb story, right? Maybe it's good that nobody read my stupid book because clearly nobody in this community values reading in the first place. Oh, did I tell you I figured out who destroyed our lending library? Well, your lending library. I don't want to take credit for your literacy initiative. It was Johnny. And maybe the rest of the book club ladies by association. They were definitely in cahoots. In fact, I think Joni might be in cahoots with half the neighborhood. Everyone who's ever come to PTA a couple times and then left without a word. Do you think they might have been spies? I bet they were spies. Every last one of them. I don't know what they'd be spying on exactly, but spies are spies. And oh, Beverly, bless your peeping heart. I really don't know who I can trust anymore. And I don't know if I can trust anyone at all. And I don't know, yeah, never mind. I shouldn't have called. It's nothing. And Beverly, bless her peeping heart, cuts me off. It is not nothing, fellow mother. You have no need for this book club. You have no need for these friends. You have me, and you may trust in me. And then she says, I'd like you to take a higher role in the PTA, Brenda Buchanan. And I say, well, I'm flattered, Beverly, bless your peeping heart, but I'm already secretary, and I'd like you to be my vice president, Brenda Buchanan. And I say, really, you're very kind, but Sharon Paulson is already vice president, and Sharon Paulson will make a fine secretary. You will be my vice president, Brenda Buchanan. And I say, well, if you insist. And she says, I insist. And I say, okie dokie, well, I'll see you at the meeting, Madam President. And she says, Beverly will do just fine. And I say, sorry, Beverly. Bless your peeping heart. And she says, good night. And I say, good night. So that's how tonight went down. And I don't know about you, dear listeners, but I feel new. I'm a new Brenda, a new me. And this new Brenda comes with new responsibilities. I mean, I'm sure I'll be much busier with PTA, what with my new vice presidential position, so I may need to cut back on some of my other activities and such. And I guess I know right where to start. Today's book was Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. And the theme? Who cares? Figure it out on your own. The Quarry Creek Book Club is canceled until further notice. That's all for this week. Say hi to the kids for me. Bye-bye.
Momcast is written, voiced, and produced by Lily Indy. Follow Brenda on Twitter and Instagram at MomcastPodcast, and tune in every other Sunday on your favorite podcast platform, so long as that platform is here, where this podcast is.